you're investing the time into working out intently versus just going through the motions, right? And so I that's how I kind of see the differentiation between investing time and spending time is really the intent behind what you're doing. Welcome to the Impactful Engineer Project. I'm Steve Maxey, and with my co-host and brother Jake, we are here to bring you guidance, fresh ideas, and the tools to help you become an impactful engineer.
This is the Impactful Engineer Project. I'm Jake Maxey, your host today. Here we have authentic conversations around engineering and personal development to allow for freedom of thought and expression. This creates an environment for growth, filling in what we believe to be the skills gaps present for engineering professionals. Ultimately, we want people to have fulfilled careers and be inspired to become the best versions of themselves. Welcome to the show, Steve.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's another great day.
Oh, it is.
It's another great day to talk about some stuff. Really just to spill it out of our bodies, right? Because I just have to talk about it to somebody. And I can't
as well share it.
Just spew it at people at work anymore. I'm driving them nuts. So I love this outlet. Okay. Today, what I want to talk about is this idea of investing time versus spending time. And I know you got a good perspective on it, Steve. I like your perspective. Mine's a little different, but it's really close. So, we'll have an opportunity to share both. And, the whole idea that I want to get across today is that there is a, distinct difference. And one, I believe, is, more worthwhile than the other. And there's a good reason to do both, and you will do both, and you'll never be able to just do one. But you could probably guess which one I think is better, right? Investing time. I mean, investing just sounds better than spending, right? So, and the idea being that there's activities that you can do day to day. And this is specifically in engineering, because this is the engineering show, and we're speaking to engineering professionals. That these tasks drive your productivity at work. You're hopefully focusing on the things that directly relate to the product or design or whatever you're trying to produce in the best way possible. So, but one thing that you can get stuck in kind of day to day is purely spending your time. So you're just churning out work. You grab the next thing. It's got to go through these steps. You do the steps. It's done. You pass it on. Kind of without regard to, hey, what would make the steps go faster next time? People have a lot of thought. I mean, as engineers, we're going to think about that a lot. Oh man, if we had this, or we did this thing, or we had this cool tool, or we paid for this subscription for this awesome tool that's already available, or, we did all these things, or we trained a bunch of people, and, we could do better at this and we can increase our efficiency. We're always thinking about stuff like that. But we kind of just take the task. We do the task. We get it done. We pass the task on, and then we get to go home. And so the thoughts come through, but you never really execute on it. So you're spending time. That's what you're doing with most of your day. Spending time is great. Spending time on a billable project is great. You're going to make money, but you want to start forcing yourself to try to invest some time as well. And the whole premise behind investing that time is that you get a return on it, right? So that if you take a task and you do some activities around investing your time into the process on how to get the activity done, then the next time that activity comes around that is repeatable, right? You're going to be able to do it faster and or pass it off to somebody else that can then do it at the same speed that you had done it before. Now you're doubling because you can take the next task, and then you just kind of, it's going to multiply that way. Very simple concept. I don't know that anyone's not going to understand what I'm talking about right now, right? Very simple concept. But what I want to try and do today is inspire you to not get stuck in the spending time, because there's so many ways that that happens, and you feel like you can't get out of it, and then not invest any time.
Yeah, I
So,
think a lot
Steve,
of
you got any thoughts on that?
yeah, I was gonna say I think a lot of engineers um, we're we are very process oriented, right? We learn how to do process, we know it works, and so we just do it, and then so we just spend that time uh, following through the motions of that process because we know, hey, this works. This is the way we've always done it, right? That kind of mentality. Um, what I don't see happening as often is people going through the process, but also auditing that process at the same time and trying to find, hey, this process does work, and this is what we've been doing, forever. But maybe if I tweak this here and tweak that there, we can actually shorten the amount of time we spend doing this process, and it makes things more efficient. Now, to test this out, it's going to cost me more time, so I'm investing that time to figure it out. But once I do, and once I kind of go through the motions of this and prove out that it is more efficient, then that's when you get your return.
Yeah. I think you've identified the first and probably most common hurdle that everyone comes across. It's going to get worse before it gets better. It's going to take me more effort and more time before this starts saving me time. It's going to be harder. That kind of stuff. I think that's the first major hurdle. So you just do it, right? You're like, oh, you got the next assignment and the things coming through that you got to get to. And you just go, you know what? I'm just going to do it. Right. And like, as a perfect example in my world, writing some project specifications, you know, you, like every project comes by and you're kind of editing the same stuff. And you're like, man, if there was just like a process that we could just pare this down, or that we could um, go through and have some sort of automated thing, right? And I've gone so far to think of all the systems that are involved in the project that I'm doing. If I could just write a table that has all the systems involved in the project, and I'm just clicking boxes going, oh, I have generators. Oh, I have this UPS system. Oh, I have this. And then I'm clicking the boxes, and then the spec pares itself down from the master to only include those things, right? So it's like, I'm sure everyone's thought about that too. Have we ever done that? No. Like, are there systems out there that we can roll out just like any other program, or bringing in a new payment system, or bringing in a new enterprise system of some kind? Yeah, you can go out and buy these things and then roll them out for the company. But we don't tend to do it. We don't tend to prioritize it because we're too busy working on just spending time. So that's a perfect example. I'm going to edit that same piece of spec, that same line every single time. And every single time I'm going to think, man, if we could just like do this automatically, that'd be great.
Yeah, yeah. I
Um,
think a really good real world and simple example is Excel, right? So you'll have say it's a table, a form that's built into Excel, but it's just it has all these fields that you plug in numbers and words and all that kind of stuff, and it takes 20 minutes to fill out every time, and you got to fill out maybe 100 of them a day or whatever it is. It's a lot, but just for example, or you can spend or excuse me, invest a lot of time into writing Excel formulas in these cells to um, propagate off of a table that you build on another sheet, um, to auto populate all the stuff for you when you just have drop down menus on, okay, I want, this criteria, and it needs to be, this date, blah, blah, blah. And then everything else is all filled out for you. Now, to build, everyone knows building Excel formulas takes some time, unless you're a super wizard, and most engineers are good at it, but not super wizards at it, right? Um, so you take a big chunk of time and you invest that to create that nice automated drop down menu and formulaic Excel spreadsheet. Um, and then after that, now you cut it down to 2 minutes to go through each form. So I mean, that's just a simple example that I thought of.
mhm. Yeah. So I think at this point, everyone knows that this is a thing. The real struggle is just making sure that you do it, right? Because you should be. If you're not investing time at work, you got to start looking at why. Why are we not able to invest the time? Why can't we get this done? Okay, that's number one. So start wondering why. Ask the questions. Um, I would say if you're going to start asking about investing time in new processes and doing these things to try and, in the spirit of helping to create the efficiencies, that's great. But come armed with a few things. And one of them being make sure this is a process that is repeatable and it comes up a lot and it's something that everyone's struggling with. You're going to get less resistance um, to trying to make that change. Once you do that, you're going to meet the resistance of, hey, the boss or the guy that kind of is the chief that sets the standards. He's got to review everything. He's the one that makes sure that what you're doing is what is going to be best, and then he approves it, right? Just so happens that they are the most busy, unreachable person, probably, right, in the company. So you're going to be fighting kind of that too. What would Steve? What I want to hear your thoughts on what is the best. Say you've identified this thing, you really want to do the process because it's going to save you a bunch of time in the future, make your life easier. What's the best approach? How do you move forward with that to where you can actually get that implemented?
Um, how I've done it in the past is, during normal operating hours, I will, like, if I know there's going to be resistance to this change, right? Because investing time into improving a process detracts from the time spent um, going through the motions of a process and getting work done. So that's where you get most of that resistance. So what you can do, and what I've done in the past, is during the day I will spend time going through the processes, and so the work is getting done at the acceptable pace, and then I will spend some additional time after hours or before hours. I like to do it in the morning, and build that spreadsheet, for example, or invest the time to improve the process, and then you all of a sudden you start you implement it yourself, and you start producing way faster than everyone else. Is one way you could do it, and it gets noticed real fast. They're like, hey, he has like double the output of projects, or quotes, or whatever you're doing, and they ask you why. Well, I built this tool, or I made this new process that it makes it way more efficient, that I did on my own time, because I had to make sure I kept getting work done. But now it's done and I am way more efficient. Here is this thing that I am sharing for everyone, to everyone. Have at it. And I've done that in the past, and you've circumvented all of the objections ahead of time. And so now all they have is the results. And they're like, hey, we didn't see any dip in productivity, because during the normal hours, we had the normal amount of work up until this thing was done. And then now we have more. So now your time is opened up for additional projects, and that makes them super happy. And that's also a great way to get promoted.
So take the route of just kind of taking it upon yourself,
Yeah.
and outside of work, maybe spending an hour or so a day for a time period.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's a key thing, is for a time period. This is not something that you should expect yourself to be doing for eternity. Like, oh, I'm always going to be, working 6 hours extra on top of my 8 hours a day, and burn yourself out. But, you can invest that time for a big payout later by being way more efficient. And
And it could lead to opening the eyes of the people that you need to get the right attention on you to maybe get working hours assigned to those projects.
yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay. So you're kind of like thinking starting from zero. You're coming in and you see something and you know that, you can bring it up all you want, but unless it's a priority for the whole team, nothing's going to happen. So you're just like, all right, well, I think it's important. I'm going to take it upon myself to do this.
Yeah, it's one way to do it.
Yeah, it's one way to do it. And I would say add on to that, just have zero expectations of anyone ever even caring about what you're doing when you're doing that, because you don't want to set yourself up into this mindset where you can have a bad result that's tied to a failure, you know but then also you don't have this expectation of once you roll it out, everybody's going to see it and everybody's going to love it and they're going to think you're the greatest. So you got to get that off the table too.
Yeah, I've been there too, where I made something that was awesome, and like an Excel spreadsheet because I use those all the time. And I was like, this thing's great. It makes my work so much easier, and blah blah blah. And I made one for calculating impact, testing, because one of my jobs that we dealt with a lot of impact testing. So, um, and everyone was like, yeah, that's great. So what? I was like, for me, I was like, heck yeah, man, this thing is, I just put in my mass and, my height and blah, 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 and all this other stuff. And all of a sudden I get my results like with 2 minutes worth of my time, and I don't have to sit there and, do all the calculations. And back to your other point where it being something that's often, that's probably why it wasn't a groundbreaking thing for the company, because while we did it a lot, it wasn't to the point where it would save the company millions of dollars by implementing this thing. It was something that saved me time every time I ran into the situation, but I ran into the situation maybe once every couple of weeks. So yeah, so I've been in that situation as well, where I did make something and it made my life way easier, but it wasn't really accepted by everyone in the company except for maybe one or two peers that was like, oh, I'll use that. Cool. No, that was it. Hey everyone. If this discussion brings up additional questions to the forefront of your mind, I encourage you to head over to impactfulengineer.com and sign up for a newsletter with your question. We may answer your inquiry directly on the podcast or even ask our guests to get their insight. If you're just enjoying the episode and want to make sure you never miss additional impactful content, you can still sign up for the newsletter without a question. And as always, you can reach out and follow us on LinkedIn under The Impactful Engineer.
So while you want to be trying to target those high value systems and processes that will get noticed and stuff like that, because that's the kind of the cool thing to happen, right? You're like, oh, that'd be awesome. It's not always going to be the case. So,
Yep.
And just know that you doing that is improving so many skills anyway, that just your return on what you're learning and how to do it, and just the time savings for just increases your value too. So while when I think of trying to create or improve upon an existing process, I tend to think like team wide or maybe even department, company, whatever. There's always that benefit to you. I mean, get in there and do it. So that's awesome. So that's out. So you're kind of turning back to or wrapping around where you were is outside of work, outside of working hours. That's probably where you're going to have to start. Depends on how your company views that. I mean, utilization percentages and stuff. Can you spend a little extra time, on a project and bill it, and you don't want to get too crazy doing that, and find places where you can do this investment of time and still be billable. That's always great, but you can't camp out on projects and start making waves like that and getting noticed for spending way too much time on projects. And the way I've done it is that's what I've done. I've always taken the opportunities when they arise. to sneak it in there. You know, I sneak it in every week, just like trying to um, increase efficiency, make standards and stuff like that. I've recruited someone to help me push it along like for an hour a week, because an hour a week is kind of going to go unnoticed. It's like I do my timesheet in half an hour increments. You know, you don't want to sit there and just agonize over like 10-minute intervals for your time card, you know? So you can kind of play that game. And 1 hour a week is going to go completely unnoticed. I mean, just pick the job, you know, really. It's like, you fixed fees, like just pick the job that you're going to put it on, you know? You're not going to destroy budgets. Um, but an hour a week in a year, we're going to have some like really good details and really good, you know, I'm playing the long game here. You know, if I don't have approval to spend a month of slow time, you know, to take, you know, 160 hours of just like, hey, let's pump out some really good details in this whole spec and a process and just make it awesome. Like if I don't, you know, I don't have approval to do that, right? That would just destroy. So I'm going to play the long game on that. So that's another way you can do it, is just fit it in, but then you got to be disciplined about it. Put it in your calendar for a weekly reminder. It's an hour every Friday at 10. We're going to hit this detail. We're going to get as far as we can. We're not going to tie an expectation of we're going to get it all done at once. You know, if we make just barely any progress, that's okay. You're still investing the time. It's going to pay off, right? So,
Yeah, and I think on the other end of the spectrum, from what we both have talked about, is when you hear almost everyone in the department complaining about something that is just grossly uh, roadblockish, right? It's just a terrible process, and everyone complains about it. You know, you can justify, you know, you come up with a proposal, right? That like, hey, I would really like to solve this problem for the organization. I think we can approach it by doing this and this and this and this, and you can ask for dedicated resources, be it time or other people's time, right? Um, and get that as an initiative that is in parallel to your projects, but it's understood by leadership that you're going to be working on this initiative. That, you know, so that's the other way, is you're not piecemealing it like you know, both of our approaches. It's just a, hey, this is a big problem. We need to solve it. Can I have the resources needed to solve it? And we can get this done in a week, a month, or whatever it is. Um, you know, and ask for that. And they'll be like, yeah, this has been costing us millions of dollars every year. Please solve this problem. And you're like, awesome, I'm on it. So that's the other end of the spectrum.
yeah, totally get to do that.
Yep.
Come armed with the problem, right? The path forward, the solution, how long you think it'll take you, and the expected result. You know, that's not bad. I've done that before, and I've actually been given the go ahead to work on things, and it works out. And it works out pretty well. Yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up. You definitely ask for it for sure. Just come with some good reasoning, and make sure it's a problem that's real, and that it's not like you know, make sure it's an actual problem felt by the whole team, and not just something that you're kind of passionate about that you would like to see changed, but no one's going to tie any kind of monetary value to it. You're just going to run into probably huge amounts of resistance. So, um, great. I hope that, you know, helps somebody. I know we see it every day. I know we see things that we want to, you know, change, and that we think would make, if not just our lives better, like everybody else's lives at work better. And I hope that arms you with a few ways to kind of get off the ground in that arena. You know, you can take it upon yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can improve the process for yourself, and with the hopes of that it can be, you know, applied to the rest of the team. But if anything, it's going to make the people that you work with and the assignments that you do go really fast and really well, and people are going to notice that. So if anything, it's going to improve your performance, right? And then, you know, you can take it and play the long game like I talked about. I'm in a position where I can make those decisions and do those things to help out future projects. And then you can do what Steve said and gather your info and say, hey, I think I've identified a problem. I think I know the solution. I think I know how much time it's going to take. Can I go do this? Can I have the resources to do it? Hey, my fellow impactful engineers. If there's one thing that you could do to help out this community, is to keep listening to the podcast, but also that if you found value in it, to share it with one person, give us a 5-star review, or even leave a text review. It'll only take a few seconds of your time. Find that person that you think could enjoy some of this or learn from it, and pass on the good word. Now back to the show.
So your original question is investing time versus spending time. I do like when you brought that topic up to me. What first popped into my head was a little bit different, and from kind of what we've been talking about here, and that's more to do with intent of the time that you're spending or investing. And the thing that just popped in my head when you first brought it up was, I mean, we both have kids, and a lot of parents in the world will say, "Oh, I got to spend time with my kids," and so they'll just sit down on the couch and watch TV with them, or they'll sit at the table on their phone while their kids color or watch TV or whatever. You're spending time, but you're not really doing anything and not uh, improving, their existence at all. Where I see that difference is if you're investing time with your kids, you are actively engaging them. You're building them up somehow, like whether you're teaching, your daughter how to dance, your son how to hit a baseball, or you're teaching one of your kids how to do math problems, or even if you're showing them how to beat a really hard level in a video game, like you're really actively engaging them and getting their brain to work. So you're investing time to build them up, right? And so another way that I brought up earlier that you can think of it is like exercise. So you can have your 5-pound dumbbells and you're doing curls, right? You're spending time like, oh yeah, I'm doing my workout. I put in my reps. Okay, I'm done. I spent time working out. Great. Or you could, grab a 45-pounder and just go, just really put in the effort. You're really intently, destroying the muscle fibers in your arm, and then your arm goes limp from defeat, and then 6 months later you're swole, right? And
Yeah.
so you're investing the time into working out intently versus just going through the motions, right? And so that's how I kind of see the differentiation between investing time and spending time is really the intent behind what you're doing.
Yeah, that's a huge deal, actually. That I hadn't really tied to this topic, but that's true. I mean, we all have the same amount of time every day, and we could all be doing the same activities, but the intention and the level of effort, I guess you would say, will differentiate you, right? So yeah, I like your example with the 5-pound weights. I mean, I don't know if anybody's getting swole on 5-pound weights, but
Yeah.
no matter how many reps you do or how slow, it's still 5 pounds.
Yeah.
I guess you are doing work technically. So, but yeah, the right work, I guess, is really doing it the right way, right?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's exercise, if it's, spending time with their kids, engaging with direct reports, your team members, your spouse. The time that you spend or invest, depending, is really differentiated, in my opinion, by intent. And I think you will always get a better ROI. The results are always going to be better when you are putting that intention behind what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, here's another example. And if you made it this far in the episode, you'll get something really good. So you're welcome. You said something about, like working with your direct reports. Like, I could just give answers. I could give answers all day. I know a lot of stuff. I've been doing it for a little while. I can just give the answers. You ask me a question. Oh, here you go. Yeah, do that one. That number. That place. This thing. Or I could say, oh yeah. So what do you what do you think the questions we should ask are that will get us to the place we need to be? What are the concepts at play here? See what they think. Or you can give them the answer, but then you say, you know how I came to this answer? Is this, I considered this, I know about this thing because I've done it a million times. Here's where you should look next time to be able to answer that on your own. Love the questions, but I'm going to do everything I can to build you up so that in 5 years you're me and you're doing the same thing for the next guy that comes through, asking the same kind of, you know what I mean? I'm investing that time at that point. I'm not just spending time answering questions. I'm investing the time in that employee or that team member, right? And making them better. So it's perfect. I'd say I challenge everybody to do that. Next time you're in class, next time you're helping somebody do homework, next time you're studying together, next time you're with a family member that has got a problem, next time that you have something of an expertise and something to help them with, when you're at work, any scenario, put yourself in it and start with the mentality of investing time and being intentional, like Steve said, over just shortcutting, getting the answer, and moving on. You're going to see that development foster pretty quick. That's great. Good example. All right. Hey, hope this helped, guys. Go do something cool. See you later.
See ya.
Hey, guys. I hope you had a great time listening. Maybe you learned something new. Maybe you got inspired, or at least took one thing away that you'd be able to use. Maybe you just had a good laugh. Impactful Engineering's hope and mission is that through this podcast, we can play a small part in expanding the reach and awareness of engineering and all of its many areas of application. The multiple engineering career paths available can be hugely rewarding as part of a fulfilled life, creating opportunity to impact nearly everyone in the modern world. An engineer's work helps to foster creation of new technologies, create safe and comfortable environments in which people can work, and lends to the sustainable future of everyone on the planet. The world needs more impactful engineers. Our vision is to provide engineers with the perspective and the tools to allow themselves the opportunity to become the most impactful engineers they can be. Included in our vision is to grow the impactful engineering community to a point where we can provide full ride scholarships to students in every single U.S. state every single year. This is an enormous goal. With your help, we can get there. To start, we will continue to execute this mission in the way that we know how, having conversations, telling stories, and talking about what we find interesting and are passionate about. If the episode made you think, made you object, made you think you could possibly be doing something more with your day, or brought about an idea that you could spend more time on developing further, please share the show or recommend it to your friends. Even if you didn't personally think it was a huge help, there may be someone that you know that could benefit from it, and that's all we can ask for. Until next time on the Impactful Engineer Podcast.